Everybody of you knows that Airfield is probably one of the lowest rated maps in World of Tanks. However, it looks like that Wargaming tried to give it one heck of a glow up. Then this, you can see it in the background, is going to be reworked Airfield. And I kid you not, having gone already through this, I would say ship it. Just ship it into the recon mode, try it out, and see what the large player base thinks. Well, yes, always it has to go through SuperTest to then give quality assurance testing. But in my honest opinion, this is so completely different. You will see in just a second. No, it's not Airfield anymore. Like, call this Airfield and the other one you can call Ruin or something, or Sandy Ruin, or I don't know. It has a completely different character, because what are the main problems of Airfield? Airfield has a very, very campy problem. You can camp here, you can camp here, here, and the heavies have to fight against TDs which are sniping in the back. You can't really do much in the middle without getting donked by RD or people camping here. So, what do we do, guys? Yeah, it was so clear. Remove everything. Remove the campy positions for the TDs around there. Well, there's still some, but remove the campy positions for the medium tanks over here. Completely rework the middle. Although this might be a little bit hard to say if this is a good or a bad thing. My personal, I should say, fear is that the middle becomes a little bit of a dead man's land. You know, you can see it also from this perspective that we have a lot of empty space now in this middle, but we got now this big rock and we get some new playable area over here. And these dunes, they are actually quite tall, so you can hide behind them and use them as RD cover or hull down cover. And this is the other side. We know it. TDs camp up here, TDs camp up here, TDs camp up here, or back there. And again, it is supposed to be the same angle of view. It's supposed to be the same angle where the camera is located. It's not the same anymore. It's completely different. Again, I think this could theoretically be a little bit of an El Haluf situation, or Wadi, or Wadi's club, I think in German, where this in the middle can be a little bit of a dead man's land. So I don't know if I'm fully sold yet, because let's be honest, dead man's land is like mountain pass. You know, you have massive mountains, but you can't play there. And this might be the same problem with this middle section, because sure, it's not a mountain, so technically, yes, you can move there, but you can't really play there, you know? So I am not sure what I'm supposed to think about that. In any case, the heavy flank. The heavy flank is also completely piss boring to play. I'm sorry for saying it like that, but it really is that, you know? Like, if you're a heavy tank, you basically have the only attack vector you're having is to go through here and hope that there's no TD back there or a TD down here. We'll have another picture showcasing it very shortly. You can drive up here and then shoot people in the side, and then simultaneously, and this is the problem, somebody has to drive around roughly here, so they have to move backwards. But they can't move too much forward, otherwise they get slapped by the TDs. So it's complete camp heaven. And that is why we just completely reworked that. Now we have a roofed section over here, which reminds me of a very old recon mode map, which was Icy, which also had such a roof section. And now we have it quite differently here. We have this big middle rock, which is being played around. And we have some spots here which you can play. You have some spots here which you can play technically from when you're attacking like this or attacking like this. And we have situations where you can go side scraping over here. And we have still some camping spots back there for the camper TDs, but it looks like they're much more or much less intrusive, and they're only there to punish people which are bozos to drive right here, when they can just drive backwards and go through the roofed section. The other side, you can see the same, what I just said. It's fairly mirrored, but they try to not mirror it as much, which can lead to some maps having imbalanced win rates. But then again, if it is in like 1% chance, 1.5, I don't know what the inside metric from Wargaming is, which says, oh yeah, this is balanced, this is not balanced, but I have to say, I much rather have a little tiny bit imbalanced maps, but they're visually pleasing and they don't, or they aren't just copy, paste, and flipped, you know, so everybody, it's the same from both sides. That's boring. You know, like if I want to play that, I can go play Rocket League. You know, but you can see it is so much different. And this roofed area is massive, and sadly enough, we don't even have a lot of viewpoints to go into it. Also, before you think that there are UFOs, no, this is a node. And as far as I'm aware, this node is being used by Wargaming's internal replay recording system to place a spot so they can be traced over and over again. So it's used that they can do the exact same precision, so we can do this nice fade in, fade out to be exactly the same spot. And now we can also look in here from there, and I don't know, it just looks interesting, you know? It just really, really looks interesting, and quite frankly, when I have seen other map prototypes or map reworks, you know, there was a Sand River rework recently pushed to SuperTest, which was like just a little bit of section rework on the upper side, but that is basically completely new map, you know. I have to be completely honest, I think that Wargaming didn't leave any sand corn unturned with this rework. You know, like look at these, it's completely gone. It's reduced to atoms. It's nowhere there anymore, and we have completely different attacking vectors. But again, you know, I don't want, I might need to be a little bit the devil's advocate and say that maybe this section right here will be unplayable, you know, because it's too open. Who knows? Maybe, like, let's put it that way. I am talking a little bit out of my butthole right now, because, as some of you might know, I tend to be a little bit of a medium, light TD tank player. I'm not that good of a heavy tank player, or I'm not that into being a heavy tank player. Yet, with many recent reworks, which Wargaming pushed to public, or pushed to live, I've just noticed that it feels like they're trying to pander to the heavy tank player base. And again, I'm talking out of my butthole. I didn't check up Tomato.gg to get information on the server stats, which I probably should have before I'm spewing this. But my personal feeling, my personal assumption is that heavy tanks are the most played class in World of Tanks, because quite frankly, it theoretically is also more or less the easiest and the most forgiving. Where with light tanks, it is the hardest and the least forgiving, but it has an absurd skill ceiling. And mediums being all-rounders, and TDs being, in most cases, when it's a heavily armored TD, more or less easy, but the lightly armored TDs are more or less hard. And this map rework, in many situations, it just looks like it's pandering towards the heavy tank player. Yet again, and I quickly have to drink some water, so don't forget to hydrate, it's very important. Again, you see, yes, the dunes are high, which is great, you can hide behind them, but this in the middle is completely now dead man's land. We have a situation over there, which I will talk about in just shortly, but this right here, it's just so much corridor, you know? This is why I'm talking about this heavy tank meta and heavy tank pushing, especially after we just got two reworked heavy tanks, which are now hull down monsters, one of which is more balanced than the other. And then we also have the can opener now, new hull down heavy tank monster with really good frontal armor as well. And we also have now the E100 buffs, which are, in my opinion, still fairly strong. Oh yeah, by the way, this was the airfield. It still exists, but I don't know. It's more of a land strip or a sand strip now, not really an airfield anymore. But you can see, we still have some TD positions, and we have an interesting bush line over here, which could be interesting, but I have to be completely honest, if Wargaming wants to use this bush line, we'll see it in another picture from above. They might need to do what they did in Pilsen, where it divots down especially over here. So you actually have a little bit of cover when you also want to play there as a medium to try and flank the heavy tanks with the bushes. But that's the other point. You see, we also lost this huge rock here, and this camping position back there. It's now completely reworked to be more open and another playable area. So that is fun, you know? And here you can see what I mean with the dead man's situation, you know? You still had a lot of spots you can hide from Artie very reliably, but you couldn't really do much. And here it's now, it's just open, you know? Yes, you have this little rock, but if somebody plays from here, I think from here and here you got some angles in the middle. Will be rough, will be rough. But this is probably my favorite shot from Wargaming. This is how it used to be, unplayable area. For some reason, a twister in the background, but hey, you do you, Wargaming. And it looks like, even in World of Tanks, climate change happened and it's a drought and we lost a lot of water. But hey, look, we got new playable area. I think this will be a more or less playable area for very fast medium tanks like a Leopard 1, like an E50M, maybe Object 140, 907, Centurion Action X, where they can play around here, hold downish, and then try to push into the bases. And it's interesting, you know? You have some interesting attack vectors now from this new position right here. So, yeah. And this is now reworked. I have to say, this position always felt a little bit like a trap. Sure, sometimes you had a light tank which went over here and was kind of annoying. But a light tank doesn't really have the DPM to be much of a concern. So, you know, and they can get blind shots. So, this is how Wargaming reworks it. And I have to be honest, this is maybe my least favorite part of the rework, because A, it feels a little bit like lazy Pilsen, and B, they will most likely be a trap for noob light tanks. I feel like this line right here needs to be recessed downwards, so we have a concave shape, so you can hide there in the case of you being ambushed or getting spotted or whatever. But other than that, this will most likely be a little bit of a noob trap. But that's it. And I have to say, honestly, Wargaming, test it in SuperTest, push it immediately to live, and put it into the recon mode. Like, I don't want to talk down the SuperTesters, because I feel like they get a lot of hate from a lot of people, which is undeserved. They do a lot of stuff, and in many situations, at least from the feedback they shared with me, which they told me after the tank has been released from NDA, and I'm like, hey, that's what I also thought about the tank, and it still got pushed to life, kind of indicates to me that there is a little bit of frustration around that. Sometimes Wargaming simply doesn't listen to the SuperTesters. And most of the SuperTesters tend to be higher skilled or above average players. So Wargaming does have the tools to know what a higher skilled player or the above average player will do on certain maps. But especially with maps, and especially with such a massive rework, that doesn't really work, I'd say, you know? Because this map, it's like a completely new map. And you saw me just pushing through pictures, because I can't really talk about it much, because it's so much different. I can't really imagine how it will play, you know? And I will feel like this will be the same for SuperTesters. They will play maybe 1 or 2 games first, and they're like, damn, that's garbage. Then they have an acquisition period, which is like, hey, actually, it's pretty good. And then it will settle, you know. And this is why I think we need to push this map as fast as possible to the recon mode, or this variation of Airfield, and see what comes of it. Because people need to adapt to the map. And the more people play of it, the more a meta will form, because the hive mind is a thing, you know? And let's be honest, when we just looked at the pictures, this map, it's ready for release. Like, I saw other map prototypes from Wargame which have been tested on SuperTest, but this is ready for release. Like, everything is textured, everything looks good, everything has a purpose, you know? So Wargaming can just push this to release, let's be honest. In any case, thank you so much for watching, especially if you watched till the end. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this rework, and I'll see you around. Cheers.